This is the K-feather from Dahon, and at just 12 kilos, it may be the lightest electric folding bike in the world. And after 2 months living with this thing, I have to admit something. I was wrong about folding bikes.
I thought the ride would be uncomfortable, they would be too twitchy with the small wheels, they would be slow, you can't carry anything, that they look goofy, and that they aren't as useful as all the stands claim they are. But after getting a taste riding around Vancouver Island a few months ago, my curiosity was piqued and led to the acceptance of this bike from Dahon. That being said, I have no requirements from them in the creation of this video. All comments are mine alone, and I will be objective in my review. It's only slightly less comfortable than a standard bike. It's not nearly as squirrely as I expected. It's certainly not slow. I still think they look goofy, but most importantly, it is just as useful as all the fans claim, and I can confidently say that I was wrong. I now love folding bikes, and this is my #1 choice for getting around town, which is saying something because there are so many options worth choosing. Simple commuters, Dutch imports, box bikes, longtails, tricycles, fixies, racing bikes, gravel bikes, mountain bikes, and the list goes on. All great options with their own advantages, but they all share the same problem. They big, and when you live in a city with limited real estate, finding a place to store them, even a standard bicycle, can be an issue. And that's the obvious advantage of folding bikes. They're smaller. You can store it easily in your cramped apartment, under your desk at work, throw it in the boot of your car, take it on a plane when traveling abroad, easily carry it upstairs, bring it on the train, bring it in shops, and even throw it in the tub for a quick hose down. That's the deal. Nothing fancy, it's simply a convenient form factor. That's it. And it's the kicker for me to choose it as my daily rider, even with its drawbacks, because there are a few. Let's start with the thing I was most surprised by, the comfort. Going from 28-inch wheels to the 16s that the K-feather is equipped with offers a surprisingly similar riding experience. The only time you should feel the difference is when going over bigger bumps. But the best way to describe what riding a folding bike is like, it feels like riding a bike. The second is squirrely or twitchy steering. This is something that I have noticed only at higher speeds, and even then, it wasn't more than a mild feeling. No speed wobbles, nothing like you would get on small-wheeled electric scooters. I would even call these bikes nimble. Third is speed. Some people, including my past self, believe a folding bike would be slower, and to some degree, that can be true. The smaller tires have marginally higher rolling resistance. The less rigid frame, due to all the moving parts, can lead to less power transfer when pedaling. The more upright position compared to a road bike will lead to less efficient pedaling, and the often smaller selection of gears on folding bikes mean that you may be in a position where the only way to pump up that speed is to spin faster. All that said, what I think negates much of those negatives is the weight, with some folders coming in under 8 kilos. Even this electric K-feather is just 12 kilograms. It's in line with most aluminum full-sized non-electric bikes. In fact, it's 1 kilo lighter than my Da Vinci Milano, so any speed difference, I believe, are just marginal differences that are mostly irrelevant to a bike purposed for utility. Fourth is complexity. With all the extra moving parts comes with points of failure to be concerned about. And the most common problem here comes in the form of creaking that usually can be remedied by tightening the latches once in a while, but it is something to consider. Fifth is hauling capacity. While you're not as easily going to be able to fit standard panniers on these bikes, there are racks available for both front and back. But one of the perks of folding bikes is they often have a mounting point above the front fork for a bag, something that I have become quite fond of. Last is subjective, but they look goofy. At least I think so, but that is something I have decided to lean into, hence the hot pink. I figured it would make for an even more absurd image. Suffice to say, if you see a man riding around Vancouver on a little pink bicycle, it's probably me. Don't be afraid to give me a wave. Those are the main drawbacks, and for me aren't enough to outweigh the convenience factor offered by the small size, especially considering the extra features the K-feather offers. Because it is perhaps the best last-mile electric bike on the market today, and possibly the world's lightest folding electric bike, lighter than anything I have found on the web. Even the popular 9-Bot Max weighs over 50% more than this, and when unfolded can be carried with just one hand.
Maybe lighter, but still stairs.
And what makes this bike so light is its simplicity. I mean, as simple as a folding bike can be. 16-inch wheels, aluminum frame, 120 watt-hour battery, single speed, rim brakes, no screen, just hit the power button, pedal, and the torque sensor will tell the 250 watt hub motor to give you a boost up to 25 kilometers as far as 40K. It folds up in just a few steps with a magnet to hold the two halves together, and while it doesn't come standard with rollers like typical bifolds, you can get a landing gear wheel if you plan on rolling it around folded regularly. The handle stem and seat post are adjustable to accommodate folks from a height of 145 centimeters to 188. I am at the edge of the bike's height limit at 185 centimeters. Even with the seat post risen all the way up, I'm not fully extending my legs when pedaling. It has a rated max load of 105 kilos, which is about exactly the same as myself and all my gear. And it also has this wire that is not just a clever way to run cables. This is what Dahon calls Deltec, a tension line that is supposed to increase rigidity by 15%, increase weight capacity, better power transfer, and stability when riding at higher speeds. Altogether, this package is exactly what I need in a bike right now for 99% of my trips. It's comfortable and stable, it's quick enough for my typical trip distance of 5 kilometers and under, the range has been sufficient, having never ran out of battery in a day, and when I tested it, I came close to the rated 40-kilometer range at 38. It's easily stored in my cramped apartment, tucked under my desk at work, and can be tossed in the back of my car when I want to take it with me on trips out of town. But there are some potential drawbacks worth considering if you're thinking about getting this specific folding bike. Like living in Vancouver, the first thing I'm concerned with is the rain. And as you can see, the bike does not come standard with fenders. You can get some from Dahon, but don't quite fit out of the box. They don't get close enough to the tires, and as a result, you get a lot of spray in the undercarriage. So be prepared to make some modifications or wear waterproof shoes. And considering this is an e-bike, the waterproofness of the electronics is something to be concerned about. Dahon claims a rating of IPX5, that's protection against low-pressure water jets from every angle, essentially the bare minimum I would accept for something to be regularly used in the rain. The thing is, the power button and charge port is on the top of the tube and barely protected. Even after a light sprinkle, water tension would pull beads under the rubber flap. I thought about covering the power button and charge port with something like a sandwich bag, whatever, but I wanted to actually test this bike for you, so as Ivan Drago said in Rocky IV,
if he dies, he dies.
And after 6 weeks of all-weather riding and a few hose downs in the tub, this thing has shown no signs of water damage. This also isn't the fastest bike, being single speed. Once you have reached the power cutoff of 25 kilometers per hour, you really need to start pushing cadence to get it to go any faster. For me, not a deal breaker. It just seems like my speed is now kept closer to that average 25 kilometers per hour.
Now this bike has more than enough power to get up pretty much anything I could find in Vancouver, except for this.
This is Tolmy Street in Vancouver's Spanish Banks neighborhood. It's the steepest street I know of. I can climb it on my standard bike, but will always be completely gassed after reaching the top. And on the K-feather,
Unfortunately, that's a fail, but this isn't realistic.
so don't expect to be riding this around San Francisco. But other than the steepest of hills, this thing crushes everything, at least when it's powered on.
As much as I love the battery on this thing, if you run out, it becomes a bit of a problem because getting this thing started without the battery assist feels like you're biking in muck. It's still doable, especially on flat ground, but when you hit hills, it's gonna be a lot tougher.
One part of that is the fact that this is a single-speed bike. The motor is pivotal in overcoming that initial tension and is quite noticeable when it's gone. Second is motor drag. It's not the biggest thing, it's only a very slight drag, but is adding to that riding through the muck feeling. So as long as you're regularly topped up and not riding more than 40K a day, you should be fine. And like all e-bikes, you will inevitably have to deal with a dead battery in 3 to 5 years. Replacements will be available soon, but this isn't a hot swap. You may even want to go to a shop to do it for you if you're not handy. And on that note, one of the benefits of a folding bike is the much easier experience of taking them on flights. Pop it in a bag and off you go. Roy, who has been in a few of my previous videos, takes his folding bike when he travels, as does John from Active Towns. It would be great to take this bike on those times you want to jump on a plane, but the battery will likely stifle those plans. Most airlines will not let you bring an electric bike on a plane, full stop, battery or not. Those that will require the battery to be removed and be no more than 160 watt-hour. The battery is small enough at 120 watt-hour for some airlines to carry on, but that battery is not coming out with some finagling. so the experience simply won't be as smooth as non-electric folding bikes. Overall, this bike for me strikes a perfect balance of comfort, speed, and portability that has earned its place as my daily rider. And in the future, if I decide it's time for a change, this bike will still be great to take on road trips, or at the very least, this is going to be a spare bike I have tucked in a closet for when I, my wife, or even a friend needs it. So if you need something small for last mile connections or are like me with limited space, not cycling more than 10 to 20 kilometers a day, this may just be the perfect bike for you. And if this video has helped you decide on this bike, please use the link below to Dahon's website.